week on Wednesday, but we wanted to start remembering a number of things before we got to there. I've got a couple of gentlemen with me right now, and on the left and right of your screen are Ron Manning on the left, and on the right, Bill Howarth. Ron, you're from Vernon?
Vernon, yes.
And you're from Summerland?
Summerland, yes.
I want you to take a look at this photograph right here, because this photograph is them when they were 17 years of age. 17, you both came from Fernie. And what does that photograph say to you? What's the occasion there?
We're just after our training, Bill, is that right? Or while we're in training?
While we were in training, we had our uniforms for about 2 weeks, I think. And,
yeah. And it looks it.
And they're not quite broken in yet.
No.
You had for 2 weeks, and then you'd been down in Esquimalt. How long was basic training for boy seamen? Because there was a category for 17-year-olds in the Canadian Navy called boy seamen.
Yes, boy seamen, and we got 50 cents a day. And I used to work before I joined the Navy, I worked in a lumber mill for 25 cents an hour. So I took a cut in pay to join the Navy. And I was a boy signalman, and Ron was a boy seaman. We were in different trades.
Okay, what does the signalman do?
I was a visual signalman.
This is the heliograph?
The flashing light, flags, and semaphore, and that method of communication, yeah.
You had all that from Boy Scouts, didn't you? Or did you have to pick it all up in this crash course?
No, I was never a Boy Scout. We were trained right, whether you were a Boy Scout or not, we were trained right from the beginning. We had sea cadets that were very good, but they went through the hoops the same as a non-learner like myself.
Now, how long did you spend in Esquimalt?
I spent 6 months in training. I was a little different. I was in the gunnery.
Yeah?
6 months in training, and then my first draft was to Montreal to pick up Bill's sister ship, the Prince Henry.
Now, tell me about the ship that you served aboard. What did you serve aboard during the war?
I was on 5.
5 different ships. Were they all corvettes?
No. First one was the Prince Henry, which was a sister ship to Bill's, which was an armed merchant cruiser.
That was a pretty big ship. That was a good-sized ship.
Yes. And then the next one was a corvette, the Lunenburg. And the next one was a frigate, just a little bit larger than a corvette. Mm-hmm. Then I went from there, I got graduated to a destroyer, the Crescent. And then I went back to a frigate again, the Antigonish.
Now, this is a corvette. About how long a ship would a corvette be? Not damn long enough for crossing the North Atlantic, I take it.
No.
How big a ship would the corvette be?
Well, less than 100 feet.
Oh, yeah.
Less than 100 feet?
Oh, yeah. Maybe a 30-foot beam.
Yeah? Yeah. We've got some video, actually. This is some World War II film, and it shows, I guess, the environment you were going out on. You would go across the North Atlantic how often, Ron?
Well, it would take us 2 weeks to go from Halifax to, say, Londonderry, Ireland, or Liverpool, the south coast of England. You
had to obviously protect the convoys from submarine attack?
Yes.
You'd leave Halifax with about how many ships?
Oh, average 48 to 50 ships.
How many did you arrive?
An average of 12. The rest went to the bottom. This was between, say, 1940 and 44.
Those were the heyday for the wolf packs, obviously.
Right. Used to come out in 50 at a time, the wolf packs.
That is just overwhelming losses, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, many a time we came into port to refuel, and more depth charges, we were completely out. We'd
used them all up.
Get a contact and stay with that contact until we were almost completely empty.
And did you have any kills recorded?
Oh, yes. We had quite a few kills, yes. Yeah, up in Tobermory we killed one, and off Land's End we killed another, and just out of the Straits of Gibraltar we got another one.
And those 3 must not have made up for all of the...
Oh, no.
Oh, I mean, you just think that to yourself, don't you?
Yes. Yeah, it's quite a celebration when everything comes to the surface.
Yeah. Now, you were in the North Atlantic primarily.
North Atlantic and the Mediterranean.
You managed to get into the Mediterranean as well?
Yes, and the Arctic up into Murmansk.
That must have been a tough run in a ship that's as small as frigates and these destroyers are in that rough country, that rough sea.
Yes, well, going to Murmansk was mostly the darkness and the cold, of course. And we'd alternate, and we'd go down to the Mediterranean, which was just the opposite type of weather.
Got the strip down to the shorts and
right. But going past the Bay of Biscay, which is off the coast of France, was really bad.
Yeah. What was
Yeah.
bad about it? Just the proximity to Europe and the
Yes, well,
attacks?
all these folk wolf couriers used to come out and tell the Stuka dive bombers how many ships were out there and how far we were and the location. Next thing you know, they were coming out with their torpedoes and strafing us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, Bill, is where you served. You served aboard a anti-aircraft cruiser, pretty big ship.
Yes, that was the HMCS Prince Robert, and she had a full complement of anti-aircraft weapons, and our main task at that time was running from Plymouth in the southern part of England with the fast troop convoys, which we would pick up off Land's End out there, and take down to across the Bay of Biscay down to Gibraltar, where they would carry on into the Mediterranean, and then we would pick up another convoy coming back to provide anti-aircraft protection for them as they crossed the dangerous waters that Ron was talking about. But our convoys were fairly fast, and we were further out in the ocean than Ron's convoys were, and we were pretty lucky. It was only once or twice, I think, that we had any problem with no losses.
Now, you guys got out of the Navy. How long did you stay in the Navy for, by the way?
I stayed in the Navy for 25 years. We both joined the Permanent Force Royal Canadian Navy as boys, and I stayed in the Navy for 25 years, and Ron left after 8 years, I think.
8 years, yeah.
Got out after 8.
Yeah.
And you didn't see one another from the time you were decommissioned, is that right?
You
never died. You were stayed in the Navy, so that after hostilities, when was the last time you saw him?
About 6 or 7 months after that picture was taken.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so these boyhood chums from Fernie saw each other for the first time last year, 1991.
Last year, 1991.
51
yeah.
years.
What was that reconnecting like?
It was quite a surprise.
Well, actually, it was through your station that we did.
Yeah?
We were interviewed at our EG9, which is the Escort Group 9 here in Kelowna a year ago, May. And when I came on the screen, my name was under it, and Bill was home in Summerland and said, "Hey, there's Ron Manning." Next morning, we had breakfast in the Canadian Legion here in Kelowna, and who walks in? Bill Howarth. I still get goosebumps.
It was a great moment.
Oh, yeah. I get them now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, what have you been talking about since that, with all of those intervening years? What's happened?
Well, we really haven't been together that much, because everything was breaking up when we were here last time.
Yeah.
And of course, we've just met again now, so.
Well, have you got anything to talk about now that it's gone by?
Well, we didn't have any girlfriends because we were too young. We didn't have any money.
Besides, they only let us out on being boy seamen. They would only let us out on Wednesday evenings and Saturdays and Sundays, you see. So we didn't have any 50 cents a day. You don't have much money to chase
And we
around.
had to be in our bunks by 9 o'clock at night in our hammocks.
And besides that, they didn't give you the full $15 a month. They kept 10 of it back and gave you 5.
That's right. $5 a month.
The tremendous value of money to be made in serving your country, eh?
That's right.
For heaven's sakes. Listen, you're now looking forward to, of course, Remembrance Day on the 11th. What's going through your mind today?
Well, I feel it more now than I did earlier on when you're younger and working and raising your family. But now I often stop and think those people aren't standing beside me. They've gone. They were sunk through various, mostly U-boat action. Some were sunk during the night in the convoys maneuvering collisions, and I really concern myself with the fact that they're not here. They didn't have the opportunities that I have had or Ron has had. Today's went 50 years ago.
Yeah. What are you thinking about these days, Ron?
Well, I have another friend that joined the Navy when Bill and I did in 1940 when we were 17. He is retired now down the Fraser Valley, and every armistice he always has a couple pints in the Canadian Legion and phones me. No matter where I live, phones me every year, and has a few tears in his eyes. And
yeah. I thank you for coming on the show today.
And we appreciate it very much, Mike.
Good to meet you. Ron Manning and Bill Howarth, a couple of buds from the Canadian Navy back in 1940. and raised together in Fernie, and meeting again for the second time since the war on this occasion. I thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Super.
Thank
Take a
you.
break. Be back in a second with more Midday. Don't go away.